everything is going up in prices recently, from food to water to electricity to public transport to GST. Almost everything except for your pay. While it's understandable that businesses are raising prices due to increased costs, the real question is, why is the government even raising prices and GST now, especially when things are already so tough? That's why in this video, we'll be going through what's actually going on, why are everything going up in prices recently, does the government even know what they are doing, and finally, I will also share some tips and tricks to help you cope with the rising costs. Also, do join my Telegram channel t.me/KelvinWest to discuss or ask any questions related to personal finance, stock investing, credit cards, and more. So let's first find out how jialat things have become. From 2020 to 2023, electricity and gas prices have already increased by almost 40%. You can see that previously, the prices were like steady from BP all along, and suddenly the prices shot up like eee. As for public transport, prices are going to increase by another 10 to 11 cents from December 2023 after the previous increase of 4 to 5 cents just less than a year ago and 9 cents in 2019. As one guy puts it on Reddit, simply go up in prices. Similarly, water price is going up too, town council fee has gone up, and GST is expected to increase to 9% next year. And if you are planning to buy your car, your COE is going to the moon too. It is hitting new record highs every other day. So much so that the guy who once thought that COE price going past 100k can be a good thing is now starting to think twice. However, while it's easy to be like,
"Walao wei, why is the government getting more and more greedy one?"
let us first take a step back to understand what is actually causing all these increases. The first reason is because while Singapore is a rich and prosperous nation, it is still a small and open economy which lacks natural resources such as food and energy. This makes Singapore highly dependent on imported goods and services. For example, Singapore currently imports more than 90% of our food from across 180 countries and regions. Besides that, we also import 50% of our water and almost all of our energy needs. With inflation rising fast and furious in many parts of the world over the past 2 years, this means that prices of Singapore imports will have to increase too. For example, the cost of essential chemicals used to treat water has risen by 33%, or the rise in cost of imported natural gas which caused electricity prices to go up. Similarly, in the past 1 year, food prices have increased by 7.7%, while public transport prices rose by 2.9% due to higher energy prices. Next, as the country reopened after the whole pandemic lockdown, Singaporeans were eager to resume shopping and dining out again. Singapore household savings have hit a 5-year high in 2020, which puts us in a better position to spend more money. A good example to illustrate this would be the high demand for COEs, which drove up prices by a lot. This was also reflected in the rebound of the Singapore economy by 3.6% in 2022 and 8.9% in 2021, after a contraction of 3.9% in 2020. Apart from the strong demand in recovery after the pandemic, there have also been increase in business costs. Due to the rising cost of living, workers are now demanding a higher pay. In response to this, 2 out of 3 employers plan to raise salaries driven by the need to retain staff. This has led to increasing costs faced by businesses, with 66% of businesses citing the high cost as their biggest concern in 2023. And as business costs go up, the additional costs will then be have to pass down to consumers. However, here's an interesting comment that I saw online, which is asking why the government is not helping to freeze all the price increases or help to bear higher costs, but instead is just doing their monitoring. After all, if you check some of the company's earnings reports, they are actually earning more money from all this. For example, SP Group has seen its net profits rising from $881 million to $1 billion over the past 2 years. Similarly, SMRT profits have also gone up. While PUB saw a decrease in net income last year, it is still profiting $163 million nonetheless. Meanwhile, the government saw a 40% jump in its GST revenue and 68% increase in COE collected from 2020 to 2022. So, are the government and corporations becoming greedier? Quick pause. Did you know that besides Weeboo's awesome sign-up rewards, Weeboo also provides you with some pretty useful features to do stock research? To find that, you can open up your stock page, then at the top right, if you tap on the tiny down arrow, you will see some useful info of the stock, such as the PE ratio, price to book, price to sales, what's the 52-week high, 52-week low, and the current dividend yield. They even show you what's the next earnings date, definitely useful for staying up to date with the stock. Besides that, if you head over to the company tab, you will find a lot more info about the stock. For example, you'll get a financial brief for the latest quarter. Some key indicators can also be found, such as return on asset, return on equity, net margin, and so on. Aside from those, you can also find some quick summaries of the financial statements, such as income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. There's even a peer comparison feature where you can compare the company with its peers, all of which are definitely useful when doing stock research. Also, if you sign up using my link down below, fund any amount and keep the money there for 30 days, you will win 10 free shares worth up to $5,000 in total. There's also a Money Boo promotion where you can earn up to $3,000 by funding more. So if you are interested in trying out Weeboo, do sign up to them using my link down below. With that being said, let's get back to the video. Let's start with the increased government revenue first. The increase in GST and COE revenue is needed to support public spending that ultimately benefits Singaporeans like you and me, such as basic healthcare, education, and security. In fact, the government has doubled its social spending over the last decade from 2011 to 2021, which is why education costs are still kept low while healthcare is still highly subsidized. And to help Singaporeans cope with the rising prices, the government has also introduced other support measures such as the CDC vouchers and assurance package, which will benefit most Singaporeans. Because of these initiatives, we can see that the Gini coefficient has been decreasing, especially after accounting for government transfers. This shows that the lower income households are actually benefiting from this. Then, what about the rise in public transport fares when SMRT has already been profiting so much from this? According to various studies, the transport fare in Singapore is one of the lowest among many major cities. For example, while it may cost up to $2.37 for a ride in Singapore, in places like Hong Kong, it may cost you up to $4.90, so $3.70, and for London, up to a whopping $9.20. In fact, the percentage of household income that we spend on public transport has actually gone down over time. Okay, then what about the rise in electricity prices? I thought SP Group is already earning a lot of money. Still want to increase some more? According to the Minister for Trade and Industry, SP Group does not benefit from the increase in tariffs directly. That's because the additional tariffs collected are passed down to power generation companies to offset their fuel cost increases. Similarly, for water prices, Singapore's water prices are actually considered cheap when compared against other major cities, and water bills account for less than 2% of an average household's expenditure. While electricity in Singapore is not considered the cheapest among major cities, it is not the most expensive either. Plus, with the entry of open electric market retailers, we do get the choice of going for the cheaper option. Not to mention, there's also occasional use-safe and conservancy charges rebates, GST voucher scheme, and assurance package that will help us offset electricity costs. So there you have it. Despite all the rising costs in Singapore, the fact is, we are still quite fortunate that things are not as bad as compared to many other major cities. However, the rise in prices is still a rise. So what are some of the things that you can do to cope with it? Other than, lan lan sak town? First, you can use credit cards to make payments for your bills whenever possible. To find out which is the best card that you can use to pay for your bills, you can check out heymax.ai, where they will show you what are the cashbacks or miles that you can earn from different cards. For electricity, there's a website which lets you easily compare different retailers to find the best plan that best suit your needs. Besides that, eligible households can also apply for vouchers to make the purchase of energy or water efficient products. You can also get a free water saving kit from PUB, which has a water timber to help you regulate the water flow of your taps and shower heads and help reduce as much as 5% of your monthly water consumption. And for public transport, there's a 50-cent discount if you tap in before 7:45 AM, as well as a 6% cashback when you pay via the Standard Chartered Smart Card. If you do this every day for a week, you will have easily saved up enough for a plate of chai fan. However, do note that all these are just small hacks here and there. A more sustainable and long-term solution would still be to make consistent and wise investments, upgrade yourself, or find a better paying job. In short, it is normal for prices to be rising because of inflation. In fact, prices are rising in every country and not just Singapore. While it's easy to blame the government for everything, our government is actually doing what they can to help us cope with the rising costs. Anyway, that's all for this video. Hopefully, you found it useful. Like, share and subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.